So it's getting late now on the second of 2 days of MRO Europe here in London. The show's quietening up a bit, but it's been a very, very busy 2 days. We've joined FDH Aero on their stand, and with me is Fred Short, who's their Chief Growth Officer. Yeah. We're going to chat about what's going on with FDH Aero and a bit about the show this week. So thanks, Fred, for joining us.
You're welcome.
ABNCast and inviting us onto the stand. You're Chief Growth Officer. Let's talk growth. That seems to be your specialist subject.
Yes.
And what are you hoping for in terms of growth? I know you've got various regions of the world you're aiming for. So what's the prospect for growth for FDH Aero?
I mean, in the industry we are today, you could say growth is a given, but I mean, obviously it needs to be planned and designed in a way that's sustainable. We've seen tremendous growth in our business over the last 3 years, particularly in, I would say, Asia Pacific, right, where the markets are very buoyant. And we're now, at this show, we're looking at trying to develop infrastructure in the regions where we think the next growth area is going to be. And at this point in time, and what we've been focusing on the last few weeks is the infrastructure in the European Union, and in particular the UK.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you've got hopes of growth in both Europe and UK based on what? Based on the need to keep aging fleets in the air.
Well, based upon the demands of the customers and the markets. I mean, we've got a very healthy pipeline in our organization. I think some of the things that we talk about in our company is how technology is driving our improvements and success. I think the slight difference to things, and which is quite amazing, is actually our people are driving our progress and growth. Yeah. Because having the right people with the right relationships in the right regions is helping us demonstrate our unique capability compared to the competition.
Yeah. I'm talking of which, you are a Best Places to Work in Aviation winner in the inaugural year last year, and we're about to launch or announce the winners for 2025. And I think you're in with a shout as well. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, it was something we're very proud of, because obviously our people are our most important asset.
Yeah. So EMEA, well, Europe and UK, APAC still growth there, is there? So you're still pushing on APAC's on the APAC side?
huge growth there. But I think the life cycle that we talk about is developing the people first. Yeah. Getting the infrastructure right so we can support our customers. And we've done that in Asia Pacific, and now we need to do that in Europe. Yeah. So
Americas, that's your sort of the company homes. Yeah. How's that looking?
Americas has remained tremendously strong throughout the time I've been at FDH, and still provides the backbone of revenue and profit in our company. But we're very keen and recognize that we're in a global industry. We need to have presence in Europe. We've just set up a facility and an organization in India to look at that demand, which is going to be huge.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to talk about emerging markets, but we'll do that in a minute. But Americas first. So Americas, you've got obviously North America, South America. We talk about Americas, that's the whole of the Americas. Is there a differential between what happens in the South?
No, we don't. We treat it the same. The only differential I would say is that we're in distinct divisions. So we've got an electronics division, a hardware division, and an aftermarket side of our business. And that then looks at the full life cycle of the aircraft. So we support production aircraft as it's been built, and we also provide support in sustainment and aftermarket, MROs, etc. Yeah. And that's set up geographically, first and foremost, and then by market segment. Yeah.
So you mentioned India. I mean, there's obviously a massive potential there as an emerging market. You're sort of putting a foot in the door there and preparing for growth, are you?
We're supporting that region today, but we're supporting it from Europe. We're taking the steps to put the right people in place. So we've got, boots on the ground, so to speak, and an office, and we've registered as a company in India to help us with that growth. Yeah. Being out there several times, participated in trade shows. Aero India was really successful for us. Right. And what we do there is, when we've got this emerging market to look at, or some growth area that we're really passionate about, we then go and talk to our partners, which will be our suppliers, the manufacturers, and see where they need help and assistance to get their product to market.
And the numbers potentially in India are startling. I think that just the number of airports that are being built or being planned to build is just, it's hard to believe it's true, but When you look at the number of large cities that need connecting,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily going to do it by rail or by ground.
No,
They're going air, aren't they?
they
So
definitely. I
makes
think
sense.
it's the same pattern that China faced sort of 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's same going to happen in India, and we're going to be there to support it.
Yeah. I suppose that only leads Africa to talk about, and obviously an absolutely enormous geographical part of the world, which air connectivity would very much suit, but still,
Yeah.
it's there. There's lots of airlines. There's 50 airlines, I think, in the African Airline Association. So
So we support that region through our aftermarket group. We're not
Yeah.
really, there's nothing been really built there.
No.
But in terms of flying aircraft, certainly aging aircraft out there, we can support it through our MRO group.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the recent successes. You've got lots of customers. We can't talk specifically about many of them because that's sensitive information for corporate information, but you must have lots of recent successes with a lot of your partners. Just give us an idea of where you've seen
Yeah, so
big successes.
so we've been over the last, I would say, 2 years, did a lot of quoting activity in this region. We've got a lot of positive feedback from those customers. Some have already contracted with us, so we're mobilizing our teams to be ready and willing to support the phase in, phase out of contractual agreements.
Right.
And then also just building the team and experience. And
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. For me, it's exciting because it's also almost coming home.
Yeah.
And it's customers and suppliers I know very well.
Yeah.
But it's also good to see new people joining our organization.
And there'll be a bunch of them you've seen, lots of them, maybe in this building today, this week, and sort of renewed those face-to-face relationships and planning for the future.
So yeah, this show's really interesting because I would say historically, from my perspective, I really never attended some of these MRO shows because
Yeah.
it was very much different people, different customers, different suppliers. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Okay.
I think our business is all interlinked. The fact that we've got aftermarket as a main part of our product offering
Yeah.
and service offering means that it's the same suppliers want to talk to FDH about servicing production and aftermarket.
Yeah.
And we're giving, I would say, unique visibility to that supply chain to our manufacturers that they're really liking.
Yeah. That's what takes us into the sort of the way you're supporting the entire life cycle. When it comes to, that's why you're here at the MRO shows.
Yeah.
Tell us how that bit more about how that trend is emerging and how you're present throughout the life cycle now.
Yeah, I think the key advantage to some of the airlines and MRO customers being supported by FDH is that we're already providing support for the production aircraft, which tends to be in larger volumes in the maintenance and repair.
Yeah.
So we are giving them the economies of scale of that product in both production and aftermarket that they wouldn't normally get. They would just get an aftermarket company supporting their needs.
Yeah.
We're also bringing in some of the, I would say, the VMI type solutions to aftermarket, where we're providing product next to the fitters, where the aircraft's been repaired or maintained, and that's reducing the need for these customers to maintain stock levels because we're holding those.
Yeah. That's the big discussion before we started. You said yourself on the supply chain side.
Yeah.
It's as tough as you've ever known it, right? And you've been in the industry.
Yeah, 35 years.
Okay, goodness. Okay, that's slightly ages. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
But it generally, you think it's as tough today as it's ever been?
I don't think we've seen anything like it in all the cycles that I've been through. It's probably been the most difficult.
Right.
Lead times extended beyond a year for parts which are available in other industries. In a few weeks, you've got 52, 70-week lead times. We've had a significant reduction in the supplier base with a major fire at one of our manufacturers.
Yeah.
That reduced capacity, build rates at astonishing levels from Airbus in particular, and then a climb back for Boeing, which is going to be very interesting when it all happens at the same time.
Yeah. So what this cycle will end at some point? Do you think it's still got some way to run? Are we at the sort of the peak or the trough, if you want to call it that?
Well, there is some early signs that some lead times are coming out in very niche product lines, but I would say the majority of the main products that we support today, lead times are extended, and we're going to still have some challenges in the supply chain.
Yeah.
That in itself creates opportunities for FDH because we then become a buffer for our customers, and they don't have to worry about the long line of manufacturers to manage. We'll manage it for them.
So what are you doing in that sense to make this more this process a bit more efficient? A lot of people talking about just having a more personalized, bespoke partnership understanding each other's companies a bit more and doing the things that they need you to do rather than sort of just putting the process in place and
Yeah, I mean,
adapting.
if it's just a process in place, I don't think everybody's going to succeed.
No.
Nobody's going to win, and there has to be a win-win somewhere. I would say that the best examples I'm seeing is the total transparency that we're showing with our manufacturers, so we can demonstrate to them that we're actually not building product stocks for anything but production.
Okay.
So we're not hoarding parts, which is what distribution have been accused of in the past. We're not doing that. And then that builds a sense of partnership that they know that we're trying to support their customers with their products, so their products not seen in a very negative requirement if it's an aircraft on ground, for example.
In the current environment, hoarding parts is a totally logical, rational, economic decision.
If there's capacity,
makes things worse, doesn't it?
If there's capacity, yes.
Yeah.
Because you will buffer the customers from it. But when there's no capacity, it needs to be sensible and it needs to be mature in the way we approach it.
Yeah. So you're working more in partnership, more strategic solutions. Just flesh that out a little bit. What does that look like when a customer works with FDH in the sense that you're being more strategic with them? How are you doing that?
But we're being more strategic with customers by, sort of streamlining their shop floor, by making sure that they don't have to store and receive and issue product to works orders. We can sort of reduce all of that by producing or delivering the product to the line and holding the buffer stocks at our facility, freeing up shop floor space that can be used for any production expansion that they need.
Yeah.
So that most customers like that from an OEM perspective. We're also doing that on the MRO side. We're offering consignment stock, so these MRO shops don't have to run around and buy product at extortionate prices because they don't know that the part is needed.
Yeah. The pricing thing is frustration for many people because there seems to be no actual price for anything. It's just what you're prepared to pay, and that can reflect how desperate you are to have a particular class at any given time. And I feel that's tough. I mean, it is again, it's a natural market reaction to where we are.
It's a market dynamic, particularly in the MRO side. But if an MRO wants to stabilize prices, then signing up with FDH for a long-term agreement will do that.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be at the mercy of the market conditions.
Yeah. But what's clearly happening in the industry as well is people are applying modern technologies to trying to just be a bit more predict what's going to come up.
Yeah.
So you're not being quite so reactive. If you're reactive, you will have to pay. It's going to be
That's correct. Yeah.
Anything that's short term and is going to cost you. So is that something that also FDH is sort of applying a bit more of a kind of analytical approach to what's coming up so that you are ahead of the game? There's always going to be stuff that happens that you can't predict, like the fire at the main supplier there. But
predicting and analytics is a big part of our organization now behind the scenes. We're always striving to have a replenishment cycle that's in sync with our customers, but at the same time have enough safety factor in there that there's not going to be no shortages if there's an overconsumption of parts, for example.
Yeah. Obviously what happened in the COVID time was everyone had to rethink their supply chain. We're trying to bring it more closer to home, just because those geographically longer supply chains became constrained. Yeah. Is that a long-term trend? Do you think people are sort of starting to nearshore more?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of comments about not getting parts supply from different parts of the world, keeping it in the USA, for example. But I think that'll go away at some stage because the competitive world will drive us to the most competitive source wherever it is.
Yeah.
And as long as we've got robust supply chains, then there shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
But I understand why some customers were very resistant to doing that, and recent sort of tariff implications have also driven some certain decisions, like where parts are made, where it's stored, and where we supply it from.
Yeah. Before we started, we did talk a little bit about what constrains aviation in particular compared to other industries around freeing up supply chains. As an industry, it doesn't react like other sectors because it can't, because of the regulatory requirements and stipulations, and that's never going to change. But is there a sort of sense that the regulators and the regulations are prepared to sort of move with the industry and not let things go? But
I think this cycle that I've said is very unusual. I've seen more OEM customers looking for alternative suppliers than I've ever seen.
Right.
So they are looking for new capacity. Not necessarily adjacent markets, but in terms of within the aerospace and defense market, qualifying more people to make the parts to alleviate that capacity constraint. So you will see more people moving up the food chain in that aerospace world, approved by the people like Airbus and Boeing, than you've seen in the last 20 years, I would say.
Yeah. And then you've got new technologies that are emerging. I mean, additive has been around for a while, but sometimes these technologies, their time comes because the environment is right for now.
Yeah. Introducing new technology to existing aircraft is a long-term thing, though. So the new technologies will be in the eVTOLs, the sort of maybe the space side of the world, but eventually will find its way into the new generation fighter aircraft.
It will come back into commercial airlines, won't it? I suppose what comes out of all this is that what emerges in the end, having gone through this challenging period, is a more efficient sector, and that actually generally is a good thing.
Well, we have to be more efficient. I mean, there's a lot of inefficiencies in our business today and our industry. But if we keep on fine tuning that and continuous improvement, we'll get there.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's kind of towards the end now. But I know you've been very busy. But one of the biggest stands here. And so you'll have lots of conversations with potential clients and partners and so on. What's been the general feeling? It's probably what we've talked about. But what do you take away from this week's event?
This week's been probably one of the most successful MRO events that I've attended. There's a couple in the US I've attended, but this has been really fantastic for us. I would say the biggest difference I see now in the last couple of shows is the cross-pollination between production and aftermarket is here.
Yep.
And certainly the teams that we've got here today have been talking to suppliers, not only in an aftermarket sense, but also production.
Yeah. There's certainly more positive attitude towards the use of USM, for instance. You have to, and previously maybe some airlines would definitely have never touched it, but now that attitude is changing.
We're watching that closely, but it's not something that we get involved with. We really use like factory new type products in our supply chain. But we watch it.
It's all a mix. It all plays a part, doesn't it?
It does.
Fred, appreciate your time. Thanks for inviting us onto the stand and saying hello.
No, you're welcome.
We're at the show, and good luck for the future. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Cheers,
Thank
Lee.
you.
Bye.